Joining us now is Newsmax contributor and retired Brigadier General in the U.S. Air Force, Blaine Holt, along with Darren Gaub, retired Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army and senior geopolitical strategist. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Blaine, I'll come to you first. Pezeshkian can apologise to his neighbours all he likes, but the IRGC holds operational autonomy here, and they're basically having free rein over the direction of their attacks. The UAE is now reportedly exploring freezing Iranian assets. If this happens, what kind of impact might this have, and what kind of assets are we talking about here?
Well, they're pretty substantial financial assets that Iran has on file in these banks in the Gulf states, which has made it very curious as to how they would start attacking the GCC states. I estimate, Sarah, that that's exactly a byproduct of the fact that we have destroyed their command and control systems. The IRGC is acting independently. Pezeshkian would like to stop it, but you can't go backwards at this point. This regime is coming off the table because otherwise you'll just have centuries of revenge-minded folks who are just going to do nothing but create terror forever. Another point to make is the blowing up of all these oil stocks. This could be a big miscue in strategy. So if it's simply the amount of oil that was required for the IRGC to roll trucks after refining that stuff, fine. But if it's something that's greater than that of strategic value, why would you unnecessarily tick off China? And why would you take something away from the free Iranian people later on down the road when they're going to need that for their own economic benefit as they rebuild their country? So we'll have to find out what the magnitude of those strikes are, but that caught my attention immediately.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point there, and I'm just going to expand on that with you, Darren, as well, because Prime Minister Netanyahu has already spoken after that those attacks on on the oil infrastructure happened. He made his address today saying that he has organized plans with many surprises, saying he wants to destabilize the regime, enable change, and tells the IRGC to put down their weapons, but also telling the people of Iran that Israel is trying to free them and not divide them. So what do you make of the Prime Minister's messaging in light of what we just saw prior to that, the attacks that happened there on the country?
Yes, sir. I guess I would say that I'm very much in line with what my friend Blaine just said, too. When I first saw the strikes on the oil industry inside Tehran, my first impression was to stand by and wait for further reporting, because the first report is always wrong or inaccurate in some way. But I share the same concerns in the fact that we're striking things that the 90 million people of Iran, those who seek to be free and those who seek economic freedom, are going to have to use to rebuild their nation. Now, if there's some sort of strategic or tactical necessity to doing so, and this is limited in scope, then so be it. But I think if it broadens out from that and you start seeing them strike oil infrastructure in the Gulf itself, such as transfer facilities, I'm going to get a lot more concerned. And I think that message from Israel right now with Netanyahu is one of those things you got to watch closely, because if that does expand, it's going to be a disconnect.
Totally.
General, I feel like we've been having this conversation. It's like Groundhog Day. For the last 3 years leading up to this Iranian conflict, we've had this long-running conversation about the Iranian ghost ships that were helping to ferry the Russian oil all around the world in spite of the sanctions that existed. We've had this conversation about the fact that Russia had surpassed Saudi Arabia as the leading importer of crude oil into China. And so here we are now, all of a sudden, where Iran is being beat to hell, as the president would say. Their navy is at the bottom of the ocean. But more importantly, I would ask you, is there now a renewed opportunity, perhaps far away from where the fighting is occurring, for the president and America to actually have more leverage now in that Ukrainian and Russian war that is occurring, now that we know China needs 50% of their oil coming out of the Persian Gulf, now that we know that we have a real opportunity now for President Trump to go to Russia with new opportunities here?
Great question. So let me get to it really quickly. You've got China that's now going to get to pay retail for their oil. They'll still get their oil as long as we don't blow it up, and that's a good thing. At the same time, your problem is not with Russia or China right now, oddly enough. Your problem is with the UK and the City of London's little subsidiary called Lloyd's of London. They're trying to shut down shipping. What is that going to do for oil? It's going to skyrocket the cost. You're going to put the Russian war machine back into business. So the president's genius move is to go, hey, look, we'll cover the insurance, okay? And we'll make back a little of the money we lost on this war, and we'll escort the ships out, and we'll start dropping the price of oil again, and that will stabilize Europe. Lloyd's of London blocking us from using Diego Garcia. We're going to have to review that later on when we start to kind of go, where are we at with this alliance?
Yeah, the special relationship seems a bit strained, and perhaps London is dragging themselves out of any type of relevance. Good to see you, General. Blaine Holt, Darren Gobb, always a pleasure.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.